It's time for the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games at Southern Utah University in Cedar City. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of a Utah sports tradition at utahsummergames.org. Participate in over 50 sports around the state. Then plan to join the opening ceremonies Friday, June 5th, presented by State Bank of Southern Utah. Register today to participate in the 40th anniversary season of the Larry H. Miller Utah Summer Games.
All right, joining us now, he is the president of Real Salt Lake, John Kimball, kind enough to hang out with us right here on The Zone. John, how you doing?
I am great. I flew to Portland this morning to meet with Adidas, so I had an early day after a late night, but all is good.
Well, I will say it was a late night, but when you saw, because, you know, when you schedule this game, the naysayers came out and said, oh, he's not going to play. Miami's going to be there, but he's not going to play. And when you saw him take the pitch and go a full 90, I got to imagine you had a big smile on your face.
Absolutely. That's whether anybody wants to admit it or not, that's a big part of this game is delivering Messi. And he has been true to his word. I believe he's played 90 minutes in every game this year. And it kind of holds true with what the league discussed with me when we found out about the game, was that Messi wants to get prepared for the World Cup. And if you watched the game last night, he was on fire, was, making runs, played a great game. I will say that we shut him down pretty well, but there's a couple other players on that team that are pretty good, and they had two world-class goals. But it was a good fight. It was just a couple of minutes of a lapse, and otherwise, that was a really solid, well-fought game.
John, what went into the decision? I know many have taken the opportunity to put Messi in a bigger stadium and sell more tickets, but I kind of like the fact that you're always going to have the photos of Messi playing right there on that pitch, and I imagine that had something to do with it. But what went into that decision?
It was a proud moment, to your point, to have him in our building. Again, I would like to say that with the Miller acquisition, this was an amazing thing to be able to deliver this year. And quite honestly, if there was a building at a larger capacity, we may have considered that. But the University of Utah field's a little bit too thin, and it's turf or AstroTurf, and then BYU's field is crowned, so you can't play on a crowned field. So we didn't really have an option to do that. But I was really proud to deliver a very unique, intimate experience last night, because that's what it was. And there is not a bad seat in America First Field. And if you were there, you felt it. I think it was a little bit of a taste of what's coming with World Cup. It's just that passion and just packed buildings and the chants. And it was just an amazing electric night.
I mean, I'm sure from a revenue standpoint that would have been nice, but you know what? Honestly, I kind of like the fact that it was an America First Field because it was so quaint. It's like, watching your favorite band that usually plays in front of 70,000 people. You get to see them in a much more intimate venue, and I think that was a really cool opportunity for those fans to be able to enjoy that game. And what I thought was really cool is that I kind of assumed that there would be a ton of just Messi fans there, but you know what? It was packed with Real Salt Lake fans that wanted to see Messi, sure, but they wanted to see a W.
Yeah, and that's what's so exciting about this year. We have a very different model. Our model is we're, building a team. We're not buying a team. And with our young players playing as well as they played against the national champions last year, Inter Miami, and to be doing as well as we are with our philosophy of kind of growing and building through our academy, it just kind of shows that our philosophy is on track and that we're doing something special. And there's a different way to be champions in this league, and that's our full expectation and intention.
We had the opportunity of having Xavier Gozo on 2 days ago, talk about the upcoming game and get to know him a little bit. Really, really exciting the fact that he's homegrown as you speak about the development. What is it that makes Xavier so great, and what do you expect for him in his future?
I'll tell you, Xavier is an amazing footballer, amazing athlete, but more importantly, he's just an incredible man. He's just a really solid human being, and his intentions and his work ethic are really speaking volumes to why he's seeing success. But it does, bode well for our academy. And I'll tell you, there's more players coming out of our academy. We've got Tony Beltran has done an amazing job with our academy, Jason Kreis and Kurt Schmidt. And we've got a line of players that are coming in the next couple of years that are going to just, again, back up what we're talking about from building from within and giving these young players an amazing opportunity. And then, with that, we're peppering in some really solid veterans that help them, understand how to conduct themselves on the field and off the field. And we think that mix is going to be something phenomenal. And with Xavier, you're going to see a kid like that do amazing things. I think he will have opportunities globally, and he will keep producing. I'd love to see him considered for the World Cup even this year. And, that possibility is out there. That rumor is out there. So I think he's going to do amazing things.
I don't think there's any doubt. And what really impressed me was, look, the guy's 19. It seems like he's got the world in the palm of his hands right now. And he was a really well-spoken, grounded kid. And you don't see that a lot with some of these young phenoms.
No, he is. He's just he's an incredible kid. I'd call him a man now because he's growing up. But great parents, raised in just a great community, and it's really fun to see a kid like that come out of Utah and through our academy. And we're extremely proud of him and the other players that have come through our academy as well.
John Kimball, president of Real Salt Lake, joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You guys are off to a great start and a lot of momentum. I know the question marks were surrounding your team going into the season, and it's a long season. You're still early in it, but you've got to be impressed with what your team's shown here early in the early stages.
Yeah, we're very excited, and this is, something we've been working on for the last, 3-5 years. And I know there's been a lot of people that have had opinions about our strategy and how we're doing things, but again, the result on the field is what speaks volumes. And this season's going to be a special season. I think we're going to learn a lot from that game last night. Again, with a lot of young players to play a team like that's full of veterans and full of global experience. It's just another opportunity for them to learn and get better. And again, we're going for cups. That's what we want and all of our players believe that they're capable of that. So we're going to have a very special year this year.
Speaking of the roster, where do you feel like the roster is strongest right now, and where does it need a little help or a little growth development?
I think part of it was us getting healthy. We've had a couple players injured. Diego is back strong. Unfortunately, I think he was a little sick last night, as well as Gozo. I think they're both a little bit under the weather. But I think across the board, we've got such a solid team with some of the new acquisitions that we've done up front and then even in the back. We've got a solid team across the board. And the other key is that we're deep. And with these young players, these 18, 19-year-old kids that can come in, the ones that really started this season and got us off to an amazing start, with now some of our veterans now healthy, it just allows us to have a very deep bench. And there's a lot of teams that don't have that ability. And so I think that's what's going to help us in the long stretch.
The World Cup brings obviously a ton of attention to the game of soccer, but just from the logistics of what you guys are trying to work through in terms of having rosters and scheduling games, how much does that affect this season?
It obviously there's a break, and that I would say there are teams that some players will take a little bit of a vacation with something like this, but I'll tell you, I think our team is so focused on doing something special this year that's just going to sharpen them. They'll get to watch and see and even participate in some of the most amazing soccer that happens in the world. Like I've said it to you before, Scotty, this is the largest sporting event in the history of the world, what's going to happen in America, Canada, and Mexico this summer. And I think Americans aren't necessarily woke up to that yet, but something very special is going to happen. And I think it's just going to be inspirational for our team and our players.
Outside of Xavier, John, what's one player? Give us a player that fans should watch this year. Somebody you're excited about.
I'd have to tell you, I'm just excited across the board. Alex Katranis has been one of our veterans that's doing an amazing job. Our goalie, Rafa, is just lights out. And then just across the front with Diego and his opportunity potentially to go to the World Cup. We've got in Morgan and what he's done. He's made everybody on the team better with how he and his skill and how he can pass the ball. We got an amazing group of people. So I'm excited across the board for all of them. And again, I think as a team, they're really going to do something special.
You were and still are a heck of an athlete, and you've been on a lot of teams, and you know what it's like to try to bring a team together. I can't imagine what that's like in the soccer world. And I asked Xavier about this the other day. When you've got guys from all over the world that speak different languages, different religions, different backgrounds, and this isn't United States, this is a global mix of players. And yet to have a locker room that he talked about, the chemistry is through the roof, and they may not be able to communicate well from a language barrier, but everybody's on the same page. Does that come from your coaches? Where does that stability in that locker room come from? Because I can't imagine that's easy to build.
I think it's a pretty equal balance because we've had an amazing coaching staff. Pablo I think he's one of the most tenured coaches in the MLS now. And he's been consistent for us. But the other part of that recipe is having really solid veterans and just a solid group of players. We've had players that didn't create a good chemistry in the locker room, and that can create a fracture and create some issues. But this year, there's just an equal force between our amazing coaching staff led by Pablo and just an amazing group of players that want to win and want to work for each other. And the inspiration comes across the board because, here's veterans allowing and letting younger players, get into that mix and encouraging them to be the very best that they can be. And so across the board with that equal effort, again, I keep saying it's something special because it really is. And when you get the locker room right, then a lot of things can go right on the field. And I think that's what's happened this year is the locker room is in – It's probably in the last 5 years that I've been back, it's the best locker room I've seen.
John, you were named president in 2020, so going on 6 years. This is probably a blur, all of it. But from that, what are some things you've learned along the way that maybe you didn't know going in?
It's just for me, it's just been a collective effort, and we've just got such an amazing group of people. From our executives across the board. And now I would say with the infusion of the ownership with the Miller Group, I've worked with the Miller Group before. They're fantastic people led by Steve Starks and Michelle Smith. We've just got the support that we need to do something special. I keep saying that word, but when you have a family and a group that's present and local that wants to give back and wants to invest in our community, they're making sure that everything on the sporting side is right. They're investing in the locker room with medical and all of the things that they need to have both our men's and women's team be at an elite level. And that's led by Jason Kreis and what he's doing and his inspiration and guidance from being our head coach that won a national championship to, an amazing player. And then, on the other side, there's a lot of investment going into the stadium. You're going to see some really cool things happen here in the near future. We have a couple clubs that we've already remodeled, but you're going to see more investment. And so the Miller organization and family are doing exactly what they said they would do. And so to be surrounded by such a great group of people all the way from the top down, it's inspirational for me. It makes me excited to come to work every single day. And I'm just super lucky to be a part of this group and the executive team that I have.
So you've managed a lot of people. Who are the more difficult people to manage, professional athletes or radio guys?
No, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. And I know sports is going to turn its eye a little bit this year to soccer, but it is a beautiful game. And I'm telling you, there's going to be some magical things that happen during this World Cup. So I just hope everybody pays attention, and what you guys do to bring that to our community so that they're aware of what's happening. Again, I have so many friends that listen to you guys and just really appreciate all that you guys do.
You're the best. Appreciate it. Tell our good friends at Adidas hi. I'm a size 11.
11, yep, 211. So
okay, there you go.
Easy to remember.
Yep. So,
and hey, the drone show from everybody that went was a huge success. So great work there
cool.
too.
Cool. I was running around, so I didn't get a chance to see it, but I appreciate you saying that. So you guys said your waist size is an 11?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. that would also serve as my IQ. So,
hey, appreciate it, John. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.